Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my November 2019 horoscope report for you. This month we have double the sweet aspects compared to the salty ones, and when that happens, it sets a mood for the general transits that's harmonious and happy. And we have Mercury Retrograde, and Mercury in Retrograde brings things from the past back into the forefront. So when we have the combination of sweetness in the stars and Mercury Retrograde, it tends to bring sweet things from the past, happiness from the past, projects from the past, and even work that was done in the past coming to fruition or outcomes coming in a wonderful way. So we have all of that as an increased possibility in store. The mood of the month is very much still dominated by Scorpio because most of the personal planets are putting their energy through that filter, and that means it's a lot of emotional intensity. So it's definitely an emotional month, but it's definitely a good sign that there are more sweet aspects because the chance for breakthroughs are much more likely when that happens. We have Sag energy starting to dribble in, and so Sagittarius tends to show us the light at the end of the tunnel, especially when it's happening amidst this emotional time. So if you've been moving through an emotional tunnel, the Sag light at the end will start to become more apparent, and towards the end of the month that will get stronger and set us up for the Sagittarius party that is going to happen in December. So the mood will definitely start to lighten throughout the month. Something else huge that we have going on is one of my favorite aspects of the whole year, which is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. So we're going to talk about what that can bring in general, and we're also going to zero in on your personal chart to see what field of experience that's going to occur, so you know where extra goodies can be from that aspect. I'll also share that date. I'm going to share with you all of the dates that are challenging, all of the dates that are sweet, so that you can mark them in your calendar. Also, we have eclipse rumblings. The eclipses are going to start showing up in big ways. December and January, we have eclipses, but we can often see manifestations, news, trajectory changes from the eclipses at least 4 to 6 weeks before they occur. That's why I always talk about them early, because here in November, we are very likely to see things coming in from that December eclipse. So I'm going to give you more information about that, a lot of information about the eclipse cycle so you can understand it for your patterns and your storylines. And I'll also, again, zero in on where exactly, what field of experience in your chart you will see this eclipse manifest and what kinds of things I've tended to see go along with that. I'm an astrology teacher, so I always use the charts to show you why things may happen instead of just what may happen. So if you want to learn, you're definitely in store for a wonderful learning experience. You can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to see many more free blogs. I also have tons of other resources on there, including signing up for my free email newsletter, which gets you a general transit write-up of all the dates, all the aspects that are notable, and what you can expect from them 1 month early in your inbox. And if you love how I teach and you want to learn, you can see my astrology apprenticeship program at anniehelpsyou.com, as well as my other offerings. And definitely check out my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, a wonderful spiritual companion for anyone who's seeking and who wants to create the life of their dreams. So you can go to radicalprayerbook.com. So let's see what the stars have in store for you. Hello, Taurus friends. I'm going to talk about lots of things specific for Taurus, and many of the things I talk about will be true for all Taurus placements, but some of the things I'm going to drill down into more detail, so that will require you to know where in the Taurus spectrum you are. So early degree are basically our April born, or 0 to 9 degrees, middle around May 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees, and late is around May 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. If you have a Taurus moon, Taurus rising, or Taurus sun, this report is for you. The sun chart, the moon chart, the rising chart, which is also the natal chart, all are pictures, or actually like windows, that look out into the different but total astrological experience for the individual. So they're all true at the same time. And I usually recommend, well, I always recommend that you watch at least for your sun and rising, if you know you're rising. And if you want to sprinkle the moon in there, you can experiment with that too. Okay, so I'm going to use the early degree chart, but many of the things I talk about will be true for all placements unless I otherwise say so. The 3 things I want to cover in this Taurus specific portion are, the first thing is what the personal planets, which are the ones closest to us, are doing this month, and what angles they make with Taurus placements so that you can understand how they tend to affect Taurus placements. The second thing will be talking about the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is one of my favorite days of the whole year, and what the general effects of that can be, and also where it's going to occur for you. And the third thing is the eclipse. So eclipse rumblings are occurring already, so we're going to go into lots of detail about that eclipse cycle and how it can manifest for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we still have a lot, I'm not looking at that right now. Okay, Mercury is going to be in retrograde, so it's going back and forth. The Sun is in Scorpio, Mars is going to be in Scorpio. When planets are in Scorpio, they oppose your Taurus placement, so they make a 180-degree angle. So this happens every year around this time. As the planets move through Scorpio, they are making this angle. It's kind of like you're being pulled in two different directions. It's almost always overstimulating, but it can be, I call it a superhero transit, where you get pulled in two directions so heavily that your only answer is to get all the balls up in the air and keep them up and feel like you're a superhero because you're managing both areas of being pulled at the same time. But it is overstimulating. It can be conflictive. It can be, seeming like things are working against you, or it can just be that you're crazy busy. So that's definitely going to be happening. Overstimulation from that. As the planets move through Sagittarius, and that's going to be also happening because throughout the month, Venus is going to hit all of the Sag placements. Then at the end of the month, the Sun gets there. Mercury will get there after. So this month starts what becomes a huge Sag party in December, but you're getting sprinkles of it. Sag planets make a 150-degree angle with Taurus placements. And that's an awkward angle. So you'll notice around this time every year, the energy of Sag comes and makes this awkward angle. It's not very comfortable. And you may notice this too. If you have a friend that has a ton of Sag energy, they're all over the place, they're scattered, they, maybe they talk a lot, and they're busy energetically, and that doesn't roll very well with the actual Taurus placements. Now, you might have other parts of you where that drives better, that people are complicated. We're complex, we're not just one thing. But Taurus energy, is more stable, it's grounded, it's earthy, it's practical. Sag energy is all over the place, it's scattered, it's, messy. So that energy, as it comes through, it's kind of like a bull in a china shop, or like grandkids coming in with white rugs. That's how it reminds me of. It's like it's messy, it's kind of uncomfortable, but it can put some pressure on you to get organized or to get certain things done, or it can expand you out of your comfort zone. And sometimes being expanded out of your comfort zone is exactly what you have to do, as uncomfortable as it may be. Okay, so those are the energies this month. It will very likely be emotional, but because there are more sweet aspects than there are salty ones, the odds that the emotions will be happy are more increased, or there could be some challenging emotions, but there's a lot of sweetness as well. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is the Jupiter-Venus conjunction. When this happens, the planet Venus gets together with Jupiter. It will be at 28 degrees of Sag. It will happen around November 24th. Depending on your time zone, it could be a little different. A few days before and a few days after, there's a range of potential manifestations. So, it could be the 20th or the 27th or 28th or, something, some days before, some days after can be the manifestation point for this. To understand what an aspect looks like when two planets join, we have to understand the sign that they're joining in and also understand the energy of each of the planets. Okay, so Venus, to understand Venus, we got to talk about my Grandma Marge. If you know me already, then you probably know my Grandma Marge, although we haven't talked about her in a while. She's the epitome of the archetypal energy of Venus. Okay, so we're going to start layering in what this can look like here. When I would see my Grandma Marge, she would kiss me on the mouth. Typical Italian greeting. She'd say how beautiful you are, how wonderful you are, compliments, recognition. She would give me some money. She would pop a meatball in my mouth. I have a fork with a meatball always, right? Her house is really comfy. So, love, beauty, harmony, recognition, money, abundance, sustenance, nurturing, cozy, comfiness. All combines with the energy of Jupiter, and Jupiter expands everything, so it just makes it bigger. And it's in the benevolent sign of Sedge, which Jupiter rules. It's its last party before it leaves its own sign and won't be back for another 11 years. So lots of luck can come from this. In any area of life, this can happen. There was one time that this aspect was happening, and me and my family went to do something we hadn't done in decades, and it just happened to be a beautiful weather. It happened to be, we were given free tickets to the place where we were going. We got there, and a historical event occurred while we were there, and it was just sweet. It was memorable. It was just perfect in every way. And this Venus-Jupiter aspect was flavoring it. Okay, so even though the energies can happen anywhere, for early degree placements, it's going to be between the 8th and 9th house. For middle degree placements, that's going to be more the 8th house. And late degree placements, that's going to be more towards the 8th house. Okay, so all Taurus placements have the chance for this 8th house manifestation. 8th house is other people's money. So this is winning money. Definitely play the lotto on that day if you have the money to do it, or those days if you have a hunch. Winning money, sweepstakes, inheritances, finding out about, people leaving you something even though they're still alive, giving you early money, loaning you money, gifting you money, getting a loan, having a spiritual breakthrough, having an amazing, intimate breakthrough, feeling empowered. Anything involving the 8th house is more likely to happen for all early, middle, and late degree Taurus placements. Early degree placements, you might also see this in the 9th house, but really all early, middle, and late degree placements can experience what I'm about to describe, because the 9th house is ruled by Jupiter and Sedge. So the combining of the energies with Venus and Sedge and Jupiter can bring about 9th house manifestations, but for you early degree placements, so basically the April born or 0 to 9 degrees, it has even more oomph in the 9th house. So this has to do with teaching, learning, finding a perfect school program, finding a venue for your teaching, getting recognized for your teaching, travel, long distance, bucket list, international trips either occurring or being planned. Spiritual breakthroughs, again, there's a possibility there. Anything having to do with different languages or different cultures or international business or getting your work out to a bigger audience. Okay, so now the last thing I want to talk about has to do with the eclipse. And again, we've got, for the early degree placements, 8th or 9th house. For the middle degree placements, 8th or 9th house. For the late degree placements, that's going to be pretty much in the 8th house. Okay, so what I'm going to do to properly equip you for this eclipse cycle, I have a lot of stuff for you for this because this is a big deal. Eclipses tend to dominate astrologically. They bring lots of big changes, drama, big news. The eclipse is at 4 degrees of Cap. It's occurring on December 25th or 26th, close to there, depending on your time zone. The reason why we're discussing them in November is because there's a 4 to 6 week manifestation potential increase. So that puts the whole month of November under big kind of eclipse, we don't want to say warning, but eclipse watch. Because you can have big news, big manifestations occurring in November. And if we didn't talk about it till December, we'd be missing the boat here because a lot of people are going to see notable things occur. So what I'm going to do next is drop in this awesome tutorial that tells you when the dates are for this eclipse cycle, the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle, when it occurred in the past. So you can look at where, what themes were occurring in the past and understand them now. I'll give you the dates of all of the eclipses that have happened and all the ones yet to happen in this cycle so that you can look for the storylines that are coming up for you. Then I'm going to drop in an 8th house tutorial about how I have seen eclipses manifest in the 8th house, and this could show manifestations for early, middle, and late degrees. So this will be relevant for all of you. I'm also going to drop in a 9th house tutorial with how I've seen eclipses manifest in the 9th house. Now, all of these, again, are more likely early and middle, but you late degree placements may see it. So it's definitely good to watch just to be aware of the potentials. And this information that I'm giving you is based on almost 2 decades of my tracking this for myself, for my clients, and horoscopes, and also, working with thousands of clients, watching these things go by. So the things that I have seen manifest with these eclipses, I'm going to list in these tutorials. And to talk about the general transits, and included in that, I will list all the dates of the sweet aspects, all the dates of the challenging aspects, talk about that rare transit of Mercury, and some other things you need to know for the month. Okay, so here is my overview for the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycles. It's always helpful when we're having an astrological cycle that is relevant at the current time to think back to when it happened before, and also to just kind of understand when it's going to happen again in the future. So the last time the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle occurred was between 2009 and 2011. And the next time it will happen after now, because we're in it now, is between 2027 and 2029. So what I have here, I'm going to give you a quick overview and timeline of this cycle and show you what we still have left to kind of understand the timeline. The reason why it's important to understand these dates is because there is a storyline that is taking place over the time from the beginning of the eclipse cycle till the end. And the themes were introduced around the time, sometimes a little early, before, so around July of 2018 or a little bit sooner. The themes that came up, that are going to come up and be present this whole time, started to come up. And then at the end of the cycle, many of the things will have resolved or shifted or come to a conclusion, or whatever that turns out to look like. The reason why I spend so much time and energy in the reports where the eclipse energies are more present is because they tend to bring drama, dramatic conclusions, amazing, brilliant new openings, a shuffling around of energy in a very intense, notable way with major trajectory shifts. And because of this, usually at that period of time, things are going on and people are looking around and saying, what the heck is going on? People around me are going through these massive changes. I'm going through changes. Or sometimes you're a space holder for someone else going through changes and not the one having them. But it's like there's something that seems like it's, in the air, and it literally is in the sky, and it is literally down into our experience. So there's this massive shuffling around of energy. So that law that says matter is not created nor destroyed, or can't be created nor destroyed, it simply changes form, is very much evident at eclipse time. So things will be taken away from a certain area, so they'll be eclipsed out, and then energy will be added in to a new area where these new openings will come as things are crossed out. So that's the typical just general storyline. So as we get closer, and I usually use 4 to 6 weeks before and after each actual eclipse date as the hot spot, I call it, for the eclipse news. But anything related to any of the themes that are going on for this eclipse cycle can happen during any of this time. It doesn't have to be only right near the hot spots, but the odds are greatly increased that news, events, changes, breakthroughs, openings, closes will occur as we're closer to these dates, and that's why they're important. Okay, so July 2nd, 2018, then January 5th, 2019, and then the most recent ones before now were July 2nd and July 16th. If you want to go back to understand those eclipses and try to make more sense of things that occurred then, you can find the information about what house, meaning field of experience for your sign, the eclipses hit for, okay? So basically, the Cancer Capricorn polarity brings tendencies for certain changes to all signs, and they would have to do with the energy of Cancer and the energy of Capricorn. So every sign has had an increased chance of a lot of shuffling around, notable changes, drama, conclusions, new beginnings in the house of home and family, and in the energy of work and your place out in the world, and the dynamic and push and pull between those places, and energies of mother and father and parenting and maternal energy and paternal energy and your inner authority, your outer authority. Every sign has been having storylines from this eclipse cycle in those polarities. But when it's eclipse time, I also drill down into the houses that they occur for each sign. And that gets even more specific about how it affects you when you were born, what your rising sign is, what your moon sign is. You can look at these reports to drill it down even further. Okay, so for the July eclipse, if you look at my June report, and this is 2019, you can get more insight into that. And then for the July 16th eclipse, again, these happened already, but sometimes retrospectively going back to have understanding is helpful. You can see my July 2019 report for that. Now, bringing us to the present time, we're in the November report, and I am going to be talking about this December 25th eclipse. Depending on your time zone, that might actually happen on the 26th, but in either case, it's at 4 degrees of Capricorn. So to follow this general drop-in, I'm going to show you where in your personal charts this eclipse is going to hit and what things you can expect with that. Then probably the December report I'll devote to talking about Jupiter moving into Capricorn. There is a chance I might talk about the January of 2020 eclipse in the December report, but I'm not sure yet. So, check out the December, and then definitely know by the January report I will be telling you where this January 10th eclipse will be hitting for you. And then the last eclipse has happened. So you see I have these kind of grouped this way because this is one set, and then this is the last set here, in June and July of 2020. So those dates will end out this whole cycle, and things that began here will be getting wrapped up, moving along. And so you can kind of understand that where we're at. So the story in many cases is not done yet. Maybe there will be some kind of conclusion or final chapter that occurs, and then maybe, these ones here are the integration time or follow-up things or something like that. But for the most part, we're in a storyline that's still in process. And regardless of the finality or the occurrences that happen at this time, probably we're going to need until the end of this cycle in order for us to see the conclusion of the story that we are almost done with. So now I'm going to show you the charts of your particular sign and show you what houses or fields of experience this December 25th, 26th eclipse is going to occur, and what themes specifically you can expect with that. Eclipse season, which I call the 4 to 6 weeks before or after eclipses, tend to bring in themes that had been in process and tend to bring movement along in certain areas of life. When there are eclipses in the 8th house or Scorpio, the focus comes to everything in these divisions. So dramatic endings, brilliant new beginnings, trajectory shifts, breakthroughs, sudden news that changes everything are very common at this time. So the 8th house in Scorpio relates to other people's money. This is a general topic, and under that header, there are many different things. We've got familial money, so like from your parents or other family members. We have spousal money, so, you know, you and your partner, their work, their income, their lives, their family. And so something can happen with a spouse that affects you. And also your shared money. It's other people's money, and it's also shared money. So, you know, collaborations where you're working, sharing your resources with other people's resources. Capital, if you need money for something. So getting loans, new loans, current or prospective loans. So trying to get a loan for something. This can also have to do with credit cards, debt, taxes. So we often see things notable, you know, maybe taxes are paid off or a tax bill comes or something notable as far as it relates to a tax profile. This also has to do with intimacy, like deep emotional closeness, and also anything having to do in the sexual realm. So very notable occurrences can happen. Major endings of intimate relationships, major breakthroughs in intimacy, new partners coming in, new experiences. The topic of power is one that's very common at eclipse time with 8th house and Scorpio representation. How other people are using power, how you are using your power. You know, people not using their power in the right way. People who have power and influence that you connect with that can help you, or you using your power or influence to affect or help other people. Psychology and parapsychology are also topics that are in the 8th house. So basically understanding how how the human mind works and what makes people tick, the interest in studying that, the lines of work that rule that. Also anything having to do with investments, like financial investments or cryptocurrency, new opportunities, things closing, drama, moving along a continuum, new chapters in anything with finances or investments, or how you go about investing, or philosophies, or the psychology of money and the psychology of just in general. So studying those things. Parapsychology. So once you get deep into psychology, there's a pretty easy line into parapsychology. And then in that realm, it's directly everything is spirit. So spiritual breakthroughs, spiritual studies, I see a lot of palmistry, I Ching, astrology, numerology, metaphysics in this area. So breakthroughs along those fronts, or new resources, or new teachers, or you doing your work in those realms. And this can actually just be mainstream psychology as well. But it can be anything esoteric. Anything that's like the most mundane as far as it relates to psychology, or anything that's the most expanded, and kind of out of the main sector. The topic of mysteries is common. So solving a mystery, having a new mystery come in, having mysterious circumstances, or even for some people, it's just writing a mystery book or getting really into reading a mystery book. So just the topic of the things that are lesser seen is really what the themes are that, that have to do with this eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. Some of the ways I've seen it manifest are, marriages where your money is combined, divorces where your money is separated, people passing away or discussing wills or naming you in an inheritance, whether they're here or not. The topic of what happens to your money or someone else's money when you or they transition. Anything having to do with the pairing up or the merging of resources on any level. So I've seen people win the lotto with things like in here. I've seen people win sweepstakes. I've seen major luck in money happen, and I've seen major surprise expenses or other notable things involving money happen. All eclipses tend to bring a strong amount of emotion because eclipses are related to the moon, and the moon rules our inner realm, our emotional space. But when there's an eclipse in a water sign, and specifically Scorpio, which is really, a very deep abyss of energy, there does tend to be quite a bit of emotion. And this can be for better or worse, but it is, very emotional when the eclipse happens in Scorpio or the 8th house. So having a way to deal with these intense emotions is one of the best ways to be prepared for this eclipse cycle, because you can be more clear and make better decisions and make better use of the opportunities that come, navigate through any challenges that come when you can take the emotional charge off of things. I have a lot of things that I love for emotional energy, but EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique, you can look this up online, has a lot of good science behind it. It's not just an energy tool, and you can manage your emotions and clear through emotional patterning with that resource. And there's tons of free stuff online. And it's important to focus on the emotional realm, even if it's not coming from the outside, because this 8th house, with being the house of psychology, also has to do with the emotional patterning that creates the fabric of your reality. So making major changes in the patterns of your life is another way that the 8th house can show up. And this can also include the topic of codependency, which I also list under 7th house and Libra eclipses, because these 7th and 8th houses are the partnership houses. So how you relate to other people, your relationship to relationship, not just the key relationships, are something that tends to come up when there's an eclipse in the 8th house or Scorpio. And the question of your energy and other people's energy, your money and other people's money, and finding a balance and finding your footing in resources and connections with others is going to be a major hot topic at this time. Eclipse time tends to be an emotional time, since the eclipses are talking about eclipses involving the moon. And the moon rules the inner world, the realm of emotion. So emotions, for better and worse, are a general theme for eclipse time. We tend to have dramatic occurrences and sometimes just breathtaking, awesome, brilliant new opportunities. So basically things being eclipsed out, things being eclipsed in, and it's just a pretty wild time of major trajectory changes, things coming to fruition, things ending, and things beginning. When there are eclipses in the 9th house or Sagittarius, teaching is a major topic. So you as a teacher, people in the teaching field, will see a lot of changes in how they're doing their work. The topic of learning and teaching are pretty much related, and they're both Sagittarius things. So getting educated, learning, your learning journey, educational resources, programs, schooling of any kind can come to an end or come to a fruition. You could be graduating with the eclipse energy, or you could be starting a new chapter, or you could be moving along a continuum of learning or teaching. Some people who are not yet teachers but who are born to be will step out into the teaching realm when it's eclipse time. So anything having to do with writing and publishing and speaking, and again, this is related to teaching. People who are writing, a lot of people who write and are publishing have something important to say. They have a message. Speakers, bringing information out to people, expanding people's horizons. So new projects, publishing launches, movement along, those fronts are very, very, very common. Could be the completion of a book, could be the launch of a book, could be a new speaking opportunity, things like that. Chances to go into the international realms, whether it's via the internet through international business and expanding your work out into an international venue, or actually physically traveling, or interacting with people through your work that are in different countries. I always call this energy of Sagittarius the sage on the mountain, where if there's a little village that has their water source disappear, and they go up to see the sage on the mountain, and the sage says, well, I can see that 3 miles up there's a beaver dam. You just clear the dam and you'll have your water back. You know, it's this idea of solutions. It's this idea of solving problems with a different mindset than was created. Einstein said, you can't solve problems with the same mindset that they were created. You have to break out and look at it from a different point of view. And when there's a Sedge or ninth house eclipse, sometimes that new viewpoint or that new solution or new optimism will come in. Your actual belief systems and ways of looking at the world can change drastically with an eclipse in the ninth house or Sagittarius. So a way that you saw something could change. You know, a separation from a certain religion or spiritual path can occur. For some people, a dark night of the soul, where they're in that process of not really being sure of their footing in that space. And sometimes a new philosophy or a re-energizing of a previous philosophy, getting on your spiritual path in a bigger way, either from, you know, going back to an old method or a new way of seeing things. It's very common. So things having to do with belief systems can come to a head or can come into the forefront. And so can work with a church or general spiritual work come in as a big focus. Some people might just see changes within their church or their spiritual ways. So like, you know, a new pastor or a new, you know, spiritual leader or new resources along those fronts. This energy of Sagittarius also has to do with adventure. So the Sedge or ninth house eclipse can bring you on an adventure. A lot of times this does involve traveling, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it could be a new tool or, you know, even a book series or a project that is a major, major adventure, doing something that stretches you out of the norm and often out of your comfort zone. I've seen many people have a change with the eclipse in the ninth house or Sagittarius with the taking in or the putting out of information. Okay, so this is along the lines of this teaching and learning, but something like taking the knowledge that you have and doing something with it. A book is one of those ways, talking, you know, publishing, things like that. Sometimes it could be a blog or some other resource where you take this big accumulation of your knowledge and you actually start doing something with it. And for others who have been focusing on those realms, they can start to focus on more mundane or more practical uses of teaching. So this can go anything from like, here I have all this information, here is how you use this information in a practical way, or going and stretching out into, you know, more and more information. So it rules information small, like micro information and macro information. So moving along those fronts, sharing information in those ways. And for many people who are learners, you keep taking in information, but you get bottlenecked because you have no outlet. So this eclipse, for many people, will open you up to an outlet to start draining out of your field all of that information that you've taken in and putting it into something usable or even something lofty and more philosophical. But in any case, a conduit to get it out so that you can have your creative flow back, because you get all of this information out of your space and into, you know, where it can be used. Different cultures and immersing in different cultures and different languages. So learning different languages can also be part of this ninth house and Sagittarius specific, or having someone from a different country come to stay with you, or having a relationship with someone from a different country where different cultures and languages come in to your experience in a pronounced way. Okay, so I'm going to give you the visuals on the general transits that will affect all signs for November 2019. And definitely remember that what I'm giving you here is a summary of some of the things to watch out for. If you want a more complete written list of the general transits that are most notable and the energies and potentials that go along with them delivered into your inbox 1 month early, then definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com. And at AnnieHelpsYou.com, you can sign up for my free email newsletter Annie helps you. That's supposed to say YOU. It's not legible. Then you sign up for my free email newsletter, and I will send you a written report about this general transit energy a month beforehand so that you have it for your planning purposes and you have it, as a visual. Okay, so like I mentioned, the first thing to know about this month is that there are around 12 awesome aspects and around 6 more challenging ones. So whenever we have a month where there's like double the nice ones compared to the challenging ones, then it sets a tone for the month that is super sweet. Now, as I always give this disclaimer, I will give it again. The general transits are just that. They're general. They're happening. This is one layer of absolute truth that is occurring for everyone. But your personal chart, the way the planets are hitting in your actual chart, which we can't see a lot of that. We can see the sun sign, the rising sign in the horoscopes, but there are all these planets here in your chart. And the way that the current planetary arrangements are hitting all of those planets for you could cause you to have a different experience than is the general theme or mood, okay? But now back to, speaking about this general mood, it's super sweet because we have so much more of this sweet aspect energy. The second very important thing to remember, and we'll look at this in the chart, is that Mercury is going retrograde. I talked in detail about Mercury retrograde in October because I always talk about things early because we feel them happening early. So between October 31st or November 1st, depending on your time zone, Mercury is actually going to start its retrograde process. On October 12th, it started its pre-shadow or its pre-transit shadow period. So every day from October 12th through the 31st, we were going deeper into the energies of Mercury retrograde, which is why I talked about them in the October reports. But now, on these days, it's actually occurring. Okay, so this Mercury is going to go back. Now, again, you see this, we're not looking at, we're looking at not the house configurations for this chart because we're not looking at a certain sign. We're just looking at the mathematical relationships between the planets. So this reading is for everybody. So Mercury is going to go back from 27 degrees of Scorpio back to 11 degrees of Scorpio. And so if you have any placements that are between 27 and 11 degrees, that especially in mathematical, connection to Scorpio, then is going to be more intense for you. And I did talk about more of those details in the October reports for all signs, but just to kind of, have a guideline here. Since it stays retrograde until November 20th, the whole mood of the month has to do with things from the past. Now, some new things can pop through, but there's going to be this strong theme of energies from the past. So I'm calling it sweetness from the past because there's so much sweetness and the energy is tilted, backwards. Now, we also talked about the fact that there are eclipse rumblings, and there are because as early as November, you may start to see some eclipse news come in, but you can definitely look to the sign reports, individual sign reports for November to see where they're going to hit for each of your signs and also have an overview of this eclipse cycle. The days of the sweet aspects. Okay, so we'll put our big smiley face here. Okay, so November 3rd, 8th, 9th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 23rd, 24th, 26th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Sometimes the energies from the transits that happen on a certain day can be felt before or after that day. So don't hang your hat too closely to the exact day, but just kind of know that there's a lot of sweetness around the days here. The challenging ones are on the 5th, 11th, 14th, 20th, 24th, and 26th. You notice how sometimes the same day will have either an aspect that could go either way or multiple aspects, one that could be sweet and one that could be salty. You see that happening actually on the 24th too, and also on the 11th. The 24th of November is one of my favorite days of the whole year because it is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And this is very potentially expansive to love, self-esteem, money, blessings, luck, just amazing things coming out of the blue. In this case, since the energies are in Sagittarius, which is, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so there's some extra energy of Sag in this storyline. There's even potential for more luck since Sagittarius rules good luck and expansion and things involving education and publishing and traveling and learning and teaching and spiritual evolution. So definitely put a nice big star in the days around here. Now, do remember, of course, like we talked about, there is also a salty aspect on the 24th and 26th. So those things could also be happening, but this is still a pretty powerful aspect to note. Something else really important to note as well is November 11th. November 11th has an aspect that day. The Sun in Scorpio is conjunct Mercury. Okay, so then that day, this and this will get together and amplify each other's energy, bringing potential intensity for better or worse. But occurring on that same day is a very rare transit of Mercury. Okay, so this only happens around 13 times in a century. And the next times they'll happen will be 2032 and 2039. For your reference to think back, if there was anything notable that occurred for you, the last time this happened was May 9th, 2016. It also happened November 8th, 2006, May 7th, 2003, November 15th, 1999. So sometimes it's really helpful to be able to go back and see if periods of time had something noteworthy for you, because sometimes that can help you better understand how the energy may manifest. So basically with the transit of Mercury, for a short time with a telescope, you can actually see Mercury, tiny, very tiny, crossing over the path of the Sun. So that's a pretty cool astronomical occurrence, but it also turns out to be energetically a very cool astrological occurrence. And so, it just can add to the intensity. Mercury rules news and travel and communication and devices for that. So breakthroughs in communication, really big news, really big physical shifts, things like that could be prominent at this time. Okay, so those are the things most on my mind, just to give you a summary of this month of the general transits. Definitely sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com, because you can see more about what I do in that newsletter is all of these dates that I list. I tell you what the aspect is and what kinds of energies tend to go along with them. So I have these all itemized out. Okay, also if you want more information about the month, I do also do written horoscopes at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And they're often talking about different things than I talk about in the videos. Okay, so Cozy by Sweet, this is all one URL, starlight.com. You can get monthly horoscopes, again, around a month early on there to get more information, and you can go to anniehelpsyou.com in order to get more blogs. And actually on Cozy there are also lots of other astrology blogs, astrology for wellness blogs, and other positive lifestyle blogs. And at AnnieHelpsYou.com, I have lots of astrology blogs for the full moon, for the new moon. So I put together lots of things for you to be able to make the most of the energetic potentials. Definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com to check out all of my free blogs. You can also check out my Astrology Basics and Beyond course if you want to learn the basics of astrology. If you want to go into an insane amount of in-depth astrology wonder, then you can check out my astrology apprenticeship program that can teach you how to use astrology for anything from self-development, helping yourself, helping your friends and family, to being a professional astrologer full on. I can help you with that. You can check my course out at AnnieHelpsYou.com. I also have a coach certification course. I also have a creating successful online business course that teaches you how to create an online presence and funnel that presence into your paid services so that you can roam free as a bird like I am. You can see I'm in a random place recording because I'm traveling and trying to get these recordings done for you. So you can see all of that at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Definitely check out my husband, B.R. Newman's site, IamHelios.com, IamHelios.com. He is going to soon have a tarot companion guide, an astrology companion guide that serve as your helpers in your study process as well, plus other cool offerings that he has there and a lot of free stuff as well. Go to see my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life in the World in 28 Days. It has become a beloved bedside companion and purse and card-toting companion to my fellow spiritual seekers. So I have heard. So you can see that at radicalprayerbook.com. If you love my shirt, this was sent to me by an amazing woman with an artist with a beautiful story. And she creates these awesome astrology design garments and all kinds of other designs as well. So you can see her story. These are also all hand stitched by adults in Canada. So you can check that out in the notes below this video. So when you click on the ... or more, all of my websites will be there. The link to see more about these designs will be there. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.